All right, tonight we look at the battle of the brands again. Strong brands attract customers, build loyalty, ultimately help firms to make more cash. Well, Brand Finance has released its annual report on the most valuable and the strongest brands in South Africa. The mobile companies MTN and Vodacom topping the list once more. To discuss, we're joined by the Managing Director of Brand Finance Africa, Jeremy Sampson. Great to have you with us in studio. So let's bring up the list and we'll go through some of the companies, but first tell us what gets you on to the top 10 brands in South Africa?
Basically, what we're using is methodology which is international standards recognized. It's around the world, so this is global best practice. This isn't just South Africa. Brand Finance values about 5,000 brands, and we look at the best brands by value and by reputation and strength. So the first thing and the main thing is, what is the financial value of a brand? If you own a brand and you want to sell it, how much are you going to get for it? Because people forget, brands can be bought and sold by people.
Yeah, even though they're invisible.
Well, they're not really invisible. And the accountants call them intangible, but you know, what's intangible about Castle? You can pick up a can of Castle, so that's pretty tangible to me. If you're on MTN, whatever, that's intangible in a sense, but you're connected through your cell phone.
So MTN and Vodacom, we've got the list behind us, number 1 and 2 again, which is interesting because South Africans love to hate their mobile cellular providers, but these are the top brands.
And what you've said is spot on. People love to hate them, but these are huge brands making huge amounts of money, and they're totally dominant. You know, Cell C has tried to break in, Telkom's tried to break in, they've actually got nowhere. And so these two are dominating and have stayed ahead. One of the big things about MTN, which people forget, it's in 21 countries outside of South Africa. So it's got a huge footprint in Africa and the Middle East. It's not purely Africa.
Some complain about that, about a lack of competition. Although we've seen these virtual networks, Virgin was here. Are they number 1 and 2 because they're big and structurally they're just kept there, or because they're doing things right?
It's the first mover thing. You know, they both started within 24 hours of each other. In fact, Vodacom started first and is meant to be dominant in South Africa, well, dominant just by a small percentage. But then MTN has gone more global, and Vodacom have the issue of being part of Vodafone eventually, so that they can't go to other areas. But you've got to keep investing. You know, people think marketing is a cost. It isn't a cost, it's an investment. No, brands aren't guaranteed a place in the sun. Just look at Tongaat Hewlett. You know, this is where you've got to keep investing, keep on working, and as we keep on saying, the marketing people within an organization like MTN, they're responsible for an asset of over 50 billion rands. What a huge responsibility that is, and it's not guaranteed. After all, when you've got someone like Vodacom snapping at your heels, you've got to stay invested and working hard.
So 50 billion, without getting too technical, remind us how you value these brands.
We look at the financials, where we look at the financial aspect of the brand, where whenever we do this, we have the cooperation of the companies, or we use publicly available material and research material. So when you actually look at MTN, how is it produced over the last 4 or 5 years? How is it looking over the next 3 or 4 years? And that's how you get a fix on the financial value. And you've got to tease out the brand part of the total business.
Then if we look at this list, if we bring it up, the traditional banks are all there. FNB 3rd, ABSA 4th, Standard Bank, Nedbank down number 10. But, you know, we keep on hearing that the banks are facing this incredible competition. They need to evolve. Does this mean they are for now?
Well, you know, people say that the more competitive the market, the more important it is to have a strong brand. FNB has been very aggressive, trying to do new things and innovate. Even this last week, we see them almost going into healthcare, which is probably trying to neutralize Discovery to a bit. ABSA rebranded last year. It was their first anniversary of the rebrand yesterday, and taking themselves back from Barclays. And then you have Standard Bank. And then people forget also that Standard Bank is 20% owned by Chinese. And between those 3 brands, they're very close together. It's a total dogfight, and that's before you get the newcomers, the Time, the Discovery and the Bank Zero.
Yeah, so that brand recognition, being in people's minds for a long time still counts.
And how do you feel about the brand? Would you trust
Yeah.
it? You know, are you a Standard person or an FNB or an ABSA or whatever, or perhaps you're a Capitec person?
Yeah, and that's grown over years. So I think Castle, that's on there for the first time. And then you've mentioned in your report some moving up, Engine, Clicks and Discovery. When I think of those, I think of Rewards. What are they doing to kind of move up the charts?
Well, as you say, take someone like Discovery. They're almost creating a bubble where once you're inside their bubble, they try and keep you in their bubble as long as they can. They're adding new things, whether it's the lifestyle, whether it's vitality, whatever. And this is where brands want you in their ecosystem. And that's the big thing. You're not just going to a bank for banking now. You're going to a whole range of things.
Yeah, it's kind of like Apple, but in financial services.
Well, yes, and then they want to put their, to be blunt, put their hooks into you. You get to the point where you can't live without them. And, you know, with Apple, you know, I've got my iPhone, my iPad, my Mac.
Yeah.
To get outside of that, whoa, hang on a minute.
It's painful. All right, finally, let's talk about the losers. Who's falling down? What are brands doing wrong to fall off this ranking?
Well, it's interesting that the healthcare issue has got 3 of the top 4 droppers: Mediclinic, Netcare and Life. EOH on the tech side, and we know has had a bad time, but those healthcare brands, Mediclinic is down 50%
Sure.
on value for the year. And we know it's had a wretched time the last 3 years. I think it's destroyed so much shareholder value.
Yeah.
Very interesting, the Financial Mail this week talks about the bonuses the chief executive is taking out, you know, which seems contra to what's going on with the brand. And this is where, again, brands have got to stay relevant, they've got to work hard at it, and they've got to stay on top of their competition.
All right, thank you so much for breaking down the top brands in South Africa. Jeremy Sampson, Managing Director of Brand Finance Africa.